Anna had always been a woman of quiet strength and grace. At 60, she carried herself with the kind of poise that only comes from years of experience, raising children, navigating life's ups and downs, and learning to find joy in the little things. Her days were filled with purpose, mornings spent walking her dog, afternoons volunteering at the local library, and evenings sharing laughter over tea with her closest friends. She was content, surrounded by love and memories. But lately, there was something nagging at the edges of her mind, a question she couldn't quite shake. It all started on the morning of her 60th birthday. As Anna stood in front of the mirror brushing her hair, she paused for a moment to really look at herself. The face staring back at her was familiar yet different. There were more lines around her eyes now, each one telling a story of laughter or worry. Her once dark hair was streaked with silver, and her hands, those hands that had held babies, written letters, and cooked countless meals, showed signs of age. For a fleeting second, Anna felt a pang of sadness. Was this what growing older meant? Fading into the background while the world moved on? But then she caught herself. Wait, she thought, tilting her head slightly as if seeing herself from a new angle. Those lines weren't just marks of time, they were badges of resilience. Her gray hair wasn't dull, it shimmered softly under the light, like moonlight on water. And those hands? They were strong, capable, and full of stories. Still, the question lingered, do I still feel beautiful? It wasn't about vanity, it was deeper than that. It was about feeling seen, valued, and radiant in a way she hadn't allowed herself to prioritize in years. As she went about her day, celebrating her milestone birthday with family and friends, Anna couldn't help but notice how everyone else seemed to glow. Her granddaughter wore a bright yellow dress that made her laugh sound even sweeter. Her son gave a heartfelt speech about how much he admired his mom's strength and kindness. Even her neighbor, who stopped by with a homemade cake, looked effortlessly stylish in her floral scarf. Everyone seemed so alive, so present. And Anna wondered, when was the last time she truly felt that way? That night, as she sat alone in her cozy living room sipping chamomile tea, Anna let herself dream. What would it feel like to step back into the spotlight, not for anyone else, but for herself? Could she rediscover the spark she used to have, the confidence that came naturally when she was younger? Maybe turning 60 wasn't an ending, it could be a beginning. A chance to remind herself that beauty isn't reserved for the young. It's timeless, layered, and deeply personal. All she needed was the courage to start looking for it again. The turning point came on a quiet Saturday afternoon when Anna decided to tackle the cluttered attic she'd been avoiding for months. Dust motes floated lazily in the sunlight streaming through the small window as she sorted through boxes of old photographs, forgotten trinkets, and mementos from decades past. At first, it felt like just another chore, something to keep her busy, but then she stumbled upon an old photo album tucked away in the corner of a dusty shelf. Curious, Anna sat down on the floor, cross-legged, and opened the cover. The first picture made her smile instantly. It was her at 35, standing on a beach with the wind tousling her hair, wearing a bright red sundress that seemed to radiate energy. She remembered that day vividly. It was during a rare vacation with her husband before their kids were born. They had laughed until their sides hurt, danced barefoot under the stars, and felt invincible. Flipping through the pages, she saw more snapshots of herself at different stages of her life, young and carefree at college parties, radiant in her wedding gown, confident in tailored suits during her career days. Each image told a story of a woman who carried herself with boldness and grace. As Anna lingered over these memories, a bittersweet realization washed over her. Somewhere along the way, that version of herself, the one who wasn't afraid to take risks, express herself, or simply feel beautiful, had faded into the background. Life had happened, raising children, managing a household, supporting loved ones, and juggling responsibilities. She hadn't lost herself entirely, but she had certainly set aside pieces of who she used to be. And now, sitting amidst the echoes of her past, Anna felt a stirring deep within, a longing to reconnect with that part of her identity. That evening, after putting the album back in its place, Anna found herself unable to shake the feeling. She stood in front of her closet, staring at the rows of practical cardigans and sensible shoes she'd accumulated over the years. While they served her well, they didn't exactly scream vibrant or alive. Her gaze drifted to the corner of the room, where an old hatbox sat collecting dust. Inside was a scarf she hadn't worn in years, a vibrant turquoise silk piece she'd bought on a whim during a trip to Paris. She pulled it out gently, running her fingers over the smooth fabric. It still smelled faintly of lavender sachets. Something clicked in that moment. Maybe it wasn't about becoming someone new, maybe it was about rediscovering the parts of herself she'd neglected. Anna tied the scarf loosely around her neck and looked in the mirror. The pop of color against her neutral sweater brought a spark to her eyes. For the first time in a long while, she smiled, not because she thought she looked perfect, but because she felt a flicker of excitement. What if she could bring some of that vibrancy back into her life? Not for anyone else, but for herself. Over the next few days, Anna began to entertain the idea more seriously. She started small, experimenting with little changes that made her feel good. One morning, she swapped her usual black slacks for a pair of burgundy trousers she hadn't worn in ages. Another day, she played around with her makeup, adding a touch of blush and mascara that reminded her of the fun she used to have getting ready for nights out. These tiny acts of self-expression felt surprisingly powerful, like she was reclaiming a piece of her identity with each step. But what truly solidified her resolve was a conversation she had with her best friend, Grace, over coffee later that week. As they sat chatting about everything from grandchildren to gardening, Anna hesitantly shared her thoughts about wanting to feel beautiful again. To her relief, Grace didn't laugh or dismiss her concerns. Instead, she nodded knowingly. "You know," Grace said, stirring her tea, "I went through something similar last year. I joined a painting class, and it completely changed how I see myself. Sometimes we forget that we're allowed to grow and evolve, no matter our age." Grace's words stayed with Anna long after their coffee date ended. That night, lying in bed, Anna whispered to herself, almost like a promise, "It's never too late to rediscover my sparkle." It wasn't going to be about drastic transformations or chasing youth. It was about honoring who she was now while embracing the joy and confidence she once knew so well. With that thought, Anna drifted off to sleep, already dreaming of the possibilities ahead. The next morning, Anna woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. She didn't have a grand plan or a checklist of goals, just a quiet determination to take small, meaningful steps toward feeling like herself again. It wasn't about reinventing who she was, it was about rediscovering the parts of her that had been tucked away for too long. And so, she began her journey in the simplest of ways, by treating herself with kindness and intention. Her first step came unexpectedly. On a whim, Anna decided to visit a boutique downtown, a charming little shop she'd walked past countless times but never entered. The bell above the door jingled cheerfully as she stepped inside, greeted by racks of colorful clothing and the warm smile of a salesperson named Claire. "Looking for anything special?" Claire asked, her tone friendly and inviting. Anna hesitated for a moment, then admitted, "I'm not sure. I just want to feel good in what I wear." Claire nodded knowingly, as if she'd heard this sentiment before, and guided Anna through the store. Together, they picked out pieces that balanced comfort with style, a soft emerald green blouse that brought out the warmth in Anna's eyes, a tailored blazer that gave her posture an instant boost, and a flowing skirt in shades of navy and gold. As Anna tried them on, she caught glimpses of herself in the dressing room mirror, and each time, she felt a little spark of recognition. These weren't clothes she would have chosen in her 30s, but they were perfect for the woman she was now, elegant, confident, and unapologetically herself. When Anna left the boutique with a few new additions to her wardrobe, she couldn't help but feel lighter, as though she'd taken the first real step toward reclaiming her sense of self. That evening, she hung the items carefully in her closet, savoring the anticipation of wearing them. But the act of shopping wasn't what stayed with her, it was the realization that taking care of her appearance wasn't frivolous. It was a way of honoring herself, of saying, "You matter." Encouraged by this newfound energy, Anna decided to build a simple self-care routine into her daily life. She started with something small. Every night before bed, she applied moisturizer to her face and hands, massaging it in gently while thinking about all the stories her skin told. Wrinkles weren't flaws, they were reminders of laughter, tears, and resilience. Once a week, she painted her nails in soft pinks or neutral tones, marveling at how such a tiny detail could make her feel polished and put together. Occasionally, she even experimented with makeup, brushing on a bit of mascara or dabbing lipstick onto her lips before heading out for errands. Each gesture felt like a gift she was giving herself, a reminder that beauty wasn't reserved for special occasions, it could be found in everyday moments. But perhaps the most transformative change came when Anna joined a gentle yoga class at the community center. At first, she hesitated. Yoga? For her? She hadn't exercised regularly in years, and the thought of being surrounded by people half her age made her nervous. Yet, curiosity got the better of her, and one Tuesday morning, she gathered her courage and walked into the studio. To her surprise, the class was filled with women and men much like herself, people in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, all seeking connection and movement. The instructor, a kind woman named Linda, welcomed everyone warmly and assured them that there was no right or wrong way to practice. "This is your space to breathe, stretch, and honor your body," Linda said, and those words resonated deeply with Anna. As she moved through the poses, slowly, deliberately, Anna began to notice things she hadn't paid attention to in years. Her body was strong, capable, and wise. Yes, her knees creaked a little, and her back wasn't as flexible as it used to be, but she could still hold a steady tree pose or stretch her arms toward the sky like branches reaching for sunlight. More importantly, she realized that yoga wasn't just physical, it was emotional. With each breath, she released tension she hadn't even known she was carrying. By the end of the session, lying in Savasana, corpse pose, Anna felt a profound sense of peace. For the first time in a long while, she wasn't focused on what her body couldn't do. She was celebrating what it could do, and that shifted everything. Through these small actions, shopping for clothes that made her feel confident, creating a self-care routine, and practicing yoga, Anna began to see herself differently. She noticed subtle shifts in her demeanor. She stood taller, smiled more often, and carried herself with a quiet assurance that hadn't been there before. People around her started to notice too. Her neighbor complimented her on her new hairstyle one afternoon, and her granddaughter remarked how happy she seemed lately. These comments weren't the reason Anna was doing any of this, but they reinforced what she already knew deep down: taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's essential. One evening, as Anna sat journaling about her progress, she wrote a line that summed up her journey so far: "Feeling beautiful isn't about looking younger or fitting someone else's idea of perfection. It's about embracing who you are right now and letting your light shine." She closed the notebook with a satisfied smile, knowing that she was only at the beginning of her transformation, but what a promising beginning it was. As much as Anna enjoyed the small victories along her journey, there were moments when doubt crept in, whispering insidious thoughts that threatened to derail her progress. It wasn't always smooth sailing, and she quickly learned that rediscovering herself at 60 came with its own set of challenges. But it was in facing these doubts head-on that Anna truly began to grow. One particularly gray afternoon, Anna found herself standing in front of her closet, staring blankly at the new clothes she'd bought. She reached for the emerald green blouse, the one that had made her feel so confident during her first try-on, but hesitated before putting it on. A voice inside her head whispered, "What's the point? No one will notice anyway." The thought startled her. Where had that come from? She realized, with a pang of sadness, that somewhere along the way, she had stopped dressing for herself. For years, her wardrobe choices had been practical, designed to blend into the background rather than stand out. Now, as she considered wearing something bold and vibrant, she felt vulnerable, a feeling she hadn't anticipated. For a moment, Anna considered abandoning the idea altogether. Maybe this whole rediscovery thing was silly. After all, she was 60. Shouldn't she be content with who she was? But then another thought bubbled up, quieter but firmer. Why should I wait for someone else to notice? This isn't about them, it's about me. Taking a deep breath, she slipped the blouse over her head and paired it with the navy skirt she'd purchased. When she looked in the mirror, she saw not just the outfit, but the woman wearing it, strong, determined, and unapologetically alive. That simple act of defiance against her inner critic gave her a surge of confidence. Still, the doubts didn't disappear overnight. There were days when old habits resurfaced, like the time she decided to skip yoga because she felt too tired, or the morning she convinced herself that moisturizing was too much effort. Each time, though, she reminded herself why she had started this journey in the first place. It wasn't about perfection, it was about progress. And slowly, those missed opportunities became fewer and farther between. What helped Anna most during these challenging times was the support she received from the people around her. Her granddaughter, Maddie, played an especially pivotal role. One sunny Saturday, Anna arrived at her daughter's house wearing the turquoise scarf she'd rediscovered weeks earlier. As soon as Maddie saw her, the little girl's eyes lit up. "Grandma, you look amazing," she exclaimed, tugging at the ends of the scarf. "This color is so pretty, it matches your eyes." Anna laughed, brushing off the compliment as casually as she could, but inside, her heart swelled. How long had it been since someone had noticed what she wore, or even cared? Later that evening, as she tucked Maddie into bed, the little girl hugged her tightly and said, "I love how happy you seem lately, Grandma. You're glowing." Those words stayed with Anna long after she left the house, echoing in her mind like a gentle reminder that her efforts weren't going unnoticed, even if they weren't the reason she was doing them. Her son also played a part in bolstering her confidence. During a family dinner a few weeks later, he raised his glass and said, "Mom, I just want to say how proud I am of you. You've always been beautiful, but lately, there's this extra sparkle about you. Whatever you're doing, keep it up." Anna blushed, embarrassed by the attention, but she couldn't deny how good it felt to hear those words from her child. For so many years, she had poured her energy into taking care of others, making sure her kids were fed, clothed, and loved. Now, finally, she was learning to take care of herself, and it seemed that everyone around her was cheering her on. Even strangers contributed to Anna's growing sense of self-worth. On a trip to the grocery store one day, she struck up a conversation with a fellow shopper who complimented her nail polish, a soft peach shade she'd chosen on a whim. "That color suits you," the woman said warmly. "It's fresh and fun, just like you." Anna thanked her, surprised by how much the comment meant. These tiny interactions reminded her that beauty wasn't just something you saw in the mirror, it was also how you carried yourself and connected with the world. Through it all, Anna came to understand that overcoming doubt wasn't about silencing the negative voices entirely, it was about learning to listen to the positive ones instead. Every compliment, every encouraging word, every moment of self-reflection added another layer to her growing belief that she deserved to feel beautiful. By the time she attended her next yoga class, she no longer felt like an outsider looking in. She belonged there, among friends who shared her journey of self-discovery. When Linda, the instructor, ended the session with her usual mantra, "Honor your body, honor your spirit," Anna repeated the words silently to herself, letting them sink in. By embracing both the highs and lows of her journey, Anna discovered something profound. Beauty wasn't a destination, it was a process. It required patience, persistence, and a willingness to face fears and insecurities. But with each step forward, she felt more aligned with the person she wanted to be, not the person society expected her to be, but the woman she knew she was deep down. And that realization, that she was worth the effort, became the foundation upon which everything else rested. The turning point came on a crisp autumn afternoon, during Anna's monthly book club meeting. It wasn't a grand event or a life-altering moment, it was simply an ordinary gathering of friends sharing stories over tea and homemade cookies, but it became the culmination of everything Anna had been working toward. For weeks, she had been building her confidence through small steps, wearing clothes that made her feel vibrant, practicing self-care rituals that reminded her to prioritize herself, and finding joy in movement at her yoga classes. Now, as she prepared to attend the meeting, she decided to take one more step. She chose her favorite outfit, the emerald green blouse paired with the navy skirt, and added the turquoise scarf for good measure. Standing in front of the mirror, she smiled at her reflection. "This is me," she whispered softly, almost as if reassuring herself. "And I like what I see." When Anna walked into the cozy living room where the book club met, she immediately felt a shift in the air. Heads turned, and smiles spread across faces as her friends greeted her warmly. "Anna, you look stunning," exclaimed Grace, her best friend, who was already seated on the couch with a cup of chamomile tea in hand. Others chimed in too, their compliments flowing naturally and sincerely. "That color is perfect on you," said Sarah, another member of the group. "You're glowing today." At first, Anna brushed off the praise with a modest laugh, as she always did. But this time, something was different. Instead of dismissing the compliments or attributing them to politeness, she allowed herself to accept them. She looked around the room at the familiar faces of women she'd known for years, women who had shared laughter, tears, and countless hours discussing novels, and realized they weren't just being kind. They genuinely saw her, not just as the dependable friend or thoughtful listener, but as someone radiant and full of life. As the discussion began, Anna found herself participating more than usual. The book they were reading, a memoir about resilience and reinvention, sparked a lively conversation about second chances and personal growth. When it was her turn to speak, Anna hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath. "You know," she started, her voice steady but tinged with emotion, "reading this book made me think about my own journey lately. Over the past few months, I've been trying to rediscover parts of myself that I'd sort of put aside over the years." She paused, glancing around the circle, surprised by how easy it felt to open up. "I used to worry that feeling beautiful, or even wanting to feel beautiful, was selfish or frivolous, especially at our age. But I've come to realize that it's not about vanity. It's about honoring yourself, taking care of your body and spirit, and remembering that you deserve to shine, no matter how old you are." Her words hung in the air for a moment, followed by a thoughtful silence. Then, one by one, her friends nodded in agreement. Grace spoke first. I think we all need reminders like that sometimes. Life gets busy, and we forget to take care of ourselves. Hearing you talk about your journey makes me want to try harder too. Sarah added, It's inspiring, Anna. You've always been such a strong person, but seeing you embrace this side of yourself, it's beautiful. Tears pricked at the corners of Anna's eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of gratitude for her friends, for their support, and for the courage she'd found within herself. In that moment, surrounded by people who truly understood her, Anna felt a profound sense of belonging. More importantly, she felt seen, not just as a mother, grandmother, or volunteer, but as a woman who was worthy of love, admiration, and beauty. After the meeting ended, Anna lingered behind to help clean up. As she stacked plates and folded napkins, Grace pulled her aside. I just wanted to say, Grace began, her tone soft but earnest, that what you shared today meant a lot to all of us. We're proud of you, Anna. And honestly, you inspire us to be braver, to take risks, and to remember that it's never too late to start over, or to keep growing. Walking home later that evening, Anna replayed the day's events in her mind. The compliments, the heartfelt conversations, the way her friends had rallied around her, it all felt surreal, yet deeply affirming. But what struck her most was the realization that she hadn't done any of this for them. She had started this journey for herself, out of a quiet longing to reconnect with the woman she used to be. And now, here she was, standing taller, smiling brighter, and carrying herself with a confidence she hadn't felt in years. Back at home, Anna stood in front of her mirror once more. This time, she didn't scrutinize the lines on her face or the gray in her hair. Instead, she focused on her eyes, the same eyes that had witnessed decades of love, loss, and triumph. They sparkled with a light that hadn't been there before, a light born from self-acceptance and courage. She smiled at her reflection, feeling a wave of peace wash over her. You've still got it, she murmured, her voice filled with warmth and conviction. And you always will. As Anna tucked herself into bed that night, she couldn't help but reflect on the day's events. The compliments from her friends, the heartfelt conversations during book club, and the quiet moments of self-recognition in the mirror all swirled together in her mind like the colors of a sunset, soft, warm, and full of meaning. For so long, she had carried the weight of doubt, wondering if it was too late to feel beautiful again. But now, lying in the stillness of her bedroom, she realized something profound. Beauty wasn't something you lost with age, it was something you could rediscover, nurture, and grow at any stage of life. Anna thought back to the woman she had been just a few months ago, the one who hesitated in front of the mirror, unsure of whether she still shone. That version of herself hadn't disappeared, she had simply needed a little encouragement to step back into the light. And now, here Anna was, glowing not because of new clothes or makeup, but because she had chosen to honor herself. She had learned that feeling beautiful wasn't about chasing perfection or turning back time, it was about embracing who you are right now, flaws and all, and letting your true self shine through. Her thoughts drifted to others like her, women and men in their 60s, 70s, or beyond, who might be sitting alone in their homes, wondering if they still mattered. Did they know how much they were worth? Did they realize that it was never too late to start over, to try something new, or simply to take a moment to appreciate how far they'd come? Anna wished she could tell each of them what she now knew in her heart, that beauty isn't reserved for the young. It's timeless, layered, and deeply personal. It's in the way we carry ourselves, the kindness we show to others, and the love we give to ourselves. With that thought, Anna decided to share her story, not just with her close circle of friends, but with anyone who might need to hear it. She imagined speaking directly to viewers, perhaps even recording a video for her daughter's YouTube channel. She'd always joked about being a star someday. What would she say? Something simple, yet powerful. Something that could reach across screens and touch hearts. If I can rediscover my sparkle at 60, she would begin, so can you. Life doesn't stop when we reach a certain age, it evolves. We evolve. And sometimes, that means taking a step back to remember who we are and what makes us happy. Maybe it's trying on a bold lipstick for the first time in years. Maybe it's signing up for a painting class or learning to dance. Or maybe it's as simple as looking in the mirror and saying, I am enough. Whatever it is, don't wait for permission. You deserve to feel beautiful, inside and out. The next morning, Anna woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. She wrote down her reflections in a journal, capturing the lessons she had learned along the way. Beauty is timeless. It's not about looking younger, it's about feeling alive. Small steps matter. Whether it's wearing a scarf that brings you joy or practicing yoga to reconnect with your body, every effort counts. You are worthy. No matter your age, you deserve to invest in yourself and celebrate the person you've become. She hoped that by sharing her journey, she could inspire others to embark on their own paths of self-discovery. After all, life was too short to dim your light. There was always room to grow, to dream, and to shine. As she sipped her morning tea, watching the sun rise over the horizon, Anna felt a deep sense of gratitude for her past, her present, and the endless possibilities of her future. She wasn't the same woman she had been at 30, and that was okay. In fact, it was more than okay. She was wiser, stronger, and braver. She was Anna, a woman who had dared to believe in herself again. And that, she realized, was the most beautiful thing of all.